Keep talking, Mike.
I'll keep talking. It's something I've been made to do for years. Nothing away. Don't feel frustrated or angry. Way to keep. Oh shit. Oh God. I'm sorry, but it looks like the profanity count is up to 1.
All right, check the mic.
Got your back up.
What number are you?
I'm number 3. Make it so, number 2. Make it so.
Sounds like your
Sounds like my bleach character, like Don Canode.
Give it a go.
give it 2.
Mr. Ichigo. Oh yeah, no. Oh yeah. Okay. Just remember, while they don't have bikes, the spirits are always with you. Wrong panel. Don't encourage me, please. It won't end well. No. Hey! Let's get in the hot tub. There is one here. There's one here in the hotel. I got the real money. This is how it is in real life for these guys. It's like, oh my God, can you just shut up?
This is every session, Mike.
Every session. Count on it. And I don't need drugs to be this way. But if you got some, come on, Bob, you gotta take care of this. Why isn't your mind?
I stopped it.
Run down.
That means it works.
That was me. Connor's not doing anything.
Okay, I'll talk.
Okay, cool. It's on the left side.
I'm just worried about being too loud. See, it's right on the edge. You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
It's like almost your hands. There we go. Okay, now I can keep it the proper proximity. Proximity is the key to not popping your peas, you see. Because if you pop your peas, people will never be able to hear what you're saying. Here we go. This is a little better now. Yes, very nice. There we go.
We got one.
The password is anime.
Okay. So I'm gonna have you guys pass for the time being, okay?
Okay.
Cartoon.
So
Animation. Oh, that's not quite it.
we're all sharing that mic. Oh.
I'll share it now.
Okay.
It's the last time.
Thanks, Michael. Hello. What? What's happening? Oh, you need
the intros.
Oh.
Here we go.
Hi everybody, how you doing?
Good.
Wow, that was way better than when I first got in here. I was like, hi everybody. They're like, fine. All right, you guys here for the Mob Psycho 100 panel, right?
Yes.
All right. In honor of Disney, it has been canceled and replaced with the Marvel Cinematic Universe panel. Good luck, guys. So sorry. No, I'm just totally kidding. But yes, you are in the right place. You guys seem excited, so I'm going to let these lovely people introduce themselves. I'll be your moderator for today. I'll be asking these people some questions before I pass the questions off to you guys. Does that sound good?
Sound good.
All right, cool. I like that.
Good afternoon. I'm so happy that all of you have chosen to join us and spend time with us. My name is Michael Sorich. I am the character of Dimple in Mob Psycho 100.
Hi, I'm Chris. I voice Reagan, our top guy in Mob Psycho.
Hi everybody, my name is Kyle McCarley. I am the voice voice of Mob in Mob Psycho 100.
I just want to say what a wonderful job you gentlemen do. Okay.
Oh, don't you love it when they're like a family? Alright, so you guys have been working on one of the most interesting anime in the past, like, I don't know, 10 or so years. So when it comes to an anime that has such a unique style, especially aesthetically, does that change the way you voice act things? Like I was talking about some of the people earlier where Mob goes like 100 mode and there's like this color swatch of everything happening everywhere. Do you ever change your voice acting based on like the things that you were seeing while you voice acting?
We'll go this way.
Oh, we're going this way? Yeah, that's fine. I feel like, yeah, the visual style does play some sort of a part in the direction that you take with the voiceover. I think Mob, the show as a whole, has the style that kind of dictates what we do, and then there are moments where stuff changes, but I don't know, you stick with the same theme. You're still playing with the same. You're painting on the same canvas with different colors, maybe, or something like that. I don't know what the metaphor is that I'm going for. When personally, when Mob goes 100, the voice does change, but that's more of a character-informed decision than it is an artistic style choice for me.
The show itself is really rangeful visually. I mean, like it goes from, this very simplistic, it looks much more like one's original manga art, compared to like One Punch Man, which was very hyper stylized and more detailed comparatively. And, it's so all over the place. Then it can get really detailed and just like massive amounts of like Sakura kind of like detailed animation and like these, the sort of, gouache painting sort of things, like when some of the ghost characters show up. So having that to go off of definitely like allows for just us to have a lot of range. Particularly, Reagan is just such a like roller coaster of a person that like I feel lucky that I get to to be serious, I get to be wacky, I get to be action oriented and more drama focused and etc. And I think that the fact that the show has like a good sense of humor and a good range to like be serious when it needs to, that's always a gift for us as performers, and like we get to do like a lot of different things all in the same kind of show. So
I have a phrase that I use when I'm directing and also when I'm voicing, and it's called skate your own program. And what skate your own program is if you ever watch figure skating, at first they have to actually skate figures, very specific figures, and then you get to skate your own program where you're allowed stylistically to let go. And I feel like this show really does that, not just for your character, but for all the characters. There is that sense of there's just more happening, and it allows you to take it to a different place because of what's happening visually. And because my character, I think he has the most range on this because he goes from being that little guy to sometimes he's the big strong guy, and also the fact that I do the narrator in the show as well. It gives me a chance to do a lot of different things, and yet, as you guys say, the challenge is to stay true to the character and let that character still be heard. There still has to be like 50% of that character, and it's what you're throwing on top of it that makes it unique.
Alright, so there's something else I want to talk about, which is like timelines when you guys are voicing. So the longer you voice after a character, do you ever like self-edit because you feel like they may sound a little bit better this way or that way? Because I know sound engineers will do that over time, but do you ever like personally, in your own voice, get used to a character and go, maybe they'll, to show progress, I'll add a little gravitas to the voice or some small edits like that?
We're going down here again. This was kind of an inadvertent evolution in Mob's voice, but over the first, I want to say like 6 episodes or something from the first season, his voice gets gradually higher pitched. You don't really notice it watching everything in order, but if you get to episode 8 or something, and then go back and watch stuff from the very first episode, it's like, oh, that doesn't sound like the same character at all anymore. And that was just something that kind of happened by accident with Chris Case and the director, where I would do a line and he would be like, no, I think we need to go a little bit higher pitched. And so we just kept on like stair-stepping up like every episode or something, just because it sounds funnier when Mom is, okay, hi, just, you know, a little bit higher pitched. There was some question about whether or not we wanted to like age him up with season 2, but it's gradual aging enough that we didn't really change a whole lot. What was interesting with Mob was adding, particularly in season 2, as he's starting to get more comfortable with being a person, and with acknowledging the fact that he has emotions and it's okay to feel them. It's interesting to try and keep that like deadpan sound while also adding in some of the emotion that he's feeling. I always felt like Mom was such an easy character in the first season because it's just like he's kind of all on that one level most of the time until he's 100%. He's got 2 modes, and that's about it. But you know, the trick was understanding that he is feeling something underneath all of that, and then once we got into season 2, it got much more challenging because it was maintaining the character that we'd established while adding in the fact that he is now expressing some of those emotions, which was really cool.
Our director, Chris, we also have one of the best ADR writers as well, Mike McCarley, who worked on Full Metal Alchemist and like one of these tons of really good shows. He writes the scripts, and then Kason directs. He also voices several characters in the show as well. And he's very collaborative, and also he has a really good sense for comedy, which I think is why this show fits him really well, because he's really good with funny stuff in particular. And so we'll make edits on the fly, you know, like for instance, Mike wrote the "Feel Free to Google Me" thing from the first season, which was a big hit, and then in the second season, like I just tossed in the "He's the big boy" thing that like they just kept. It wasn't written that way, and we just threw some of that in there. So it's very collaborative, and especially for the comedy stuff, where like we can play around with things, and it doesn't have to be like super direct translation-y, you know, in terms of the adaptation. Like it's pretty loose. And also we had time. We were really lucky that like we had a pretty fair amount of time to spend on each individual episode because we did one a week. And we don't always get that luxury with every anime, especially now with like just how quickly we have to get stuff out. Yeah, every time I never get to go in, like it's a gift, because I mean like Reagan has just so many different things to do and weird situations, and like I tend to always, not everybody always has the time to do this or wants to do this, but I always watch the episodes in Japanese ahead of time, mainly for context and to like know like where are some big moments and where are some really funny moments, and like how to play around with it, and then be prepared for when I go in. And then I work with Case and one of our many, a whole lot of different engineers throughout the show. You had an interesting thing when we first started, because with the many different sort of forms of Dimple, you recorded a little bit of your stuff technically out of order.
Yeah, that's actually true. It's kind of funny. I prefer the opposite approach on this particular show. Rather than being prepared ahead of time, I like to not look at it, because I don't pre-conceptualize what I'm going to do when he's going big or when he's going little. And also, listen to the guide track is very helpful, and Chris, of course, is wonderfully generous in allowing us, hey, can we just try this and see if this would work better? You know, I can't say enough about Chris Casey as a director, wonderful director. And it's a lot of fun, because sometimes my character actually ages within an episode. So he actually like, you know, sometimes he has like a younger looking face and then he goes into the old wrinkled face, or sometimes he has like the very dark face. He has, you know, the 7 faces of Dimple as far as I'm concerned.
So it seems like you guys have like a great director behind you. Do you ever look back, especially since you guys have been doing this for a while, and like, man, I wonder what it would be like to try this voice in this character and see how it went?
I can't imagine Mom sounding any different than he does. Honestly, I feel like the voice just fits him so well for me. I mean, I read for some other characters on the show, but then I listened to everybody that got cast, and I go, no, that's the voice, that's the guy. So no, I'm real happy with what we've got.
Yeah, same. There's definitely been some other shows I've worked on where, like, in retrospect, like, oh, I kind of wish I played them a little bit more this way. And sometimes we don't always get the option to do that. Like, they want it to be a very specific way, and like, they don't want to go too experimentally with stuff like accents and things. Like, that's kind of a for-kidsian type of thing that is kind of dying from anime these days. But I mean, with Reagan, like, we share a lot in common for better and worse. And so, like, I feel like I'm just kind of a heightened version of myself on him, and also with a lot of Jim Carrey-isms thrown in. He's very that kind of manic, like, of course you don't understand my life training, kind of that kind of energy to him, and that's something that I've always been, it's been a part of me forever, so, you know.
So where's the gray suit? See, if that's a party, then where's the gray suit? Actually, we have someone, could you stand up, please, Trish? That is the gray suit, ladies and gentlemen. And she's got Dimple right there. Thank you, Trish. Thank you very much. You are representing, and we appreciate it very much. I tend to get brought in for a certain kind of character because of my personality. I'm not shy and retiring. I'm very loud and I'm very crazy, and that's just who I am naturally. So they never think of me for, like, we need Sorich's mom. He could do that. No, I never get those calls. So I'm always pretty much playing the larger characters, and I enjoy the heck out of it. It's just like, you know, what are we going to do next? How are we going to make it crazier? And so I skip to work every day. Believe me, guys, we feel so fortunate to be able to do what we do. I feel so fortunate and so lucky. Lots of gratitude to just be able to enjoy what we do, and I hope that you guys do the same thing with where you're at in your life. You know, if you're not going to work with a smile, then find something else to do. I really would say that. I know it sounds a little philosophical, but I think it's really important to enjoy it.
All right, so I'm going to open up to the floor. Raise your hand, and I'll point at you. And if you don't, then I won't. All right, go ahead.
Initial response to season 2, I'll take this one first if you don't mind. It was great because we weren't sure, as you know from the way they created it, we weren't sure we were going to get a season 2. And just between you and I, there's another little product coming out from Psycho.
Yeah, we did get to work on the Reagan kind of like season 1 summation OVA in between seasons 1 and 2. So we got a little taste of the characters again, but I was really excited about season 2 because I had learned a little bit about some of the other upcoming new characters. Sorizawa, for one, I was seeing people drawing fan art of him, and I was excited about seeing him and a lot of the other stuff. And yeah, I mean, like, a lot of these shows now, like, you never really know if it's going to get, you know, not every show is like Naruto or Dragon Ball where, like, it just starts and it goes for as long as it's going to go for however many years. You know, a lot of these little shorter, like 12 to 13 episode chunk ones, you know, they don't always finish. We're really hoping that we'll get another season. I would actually say, real quick while I'm remembering this, there's a video game coming out. Crunchyroll developed a Mob Psycho mobile game. And from my understanding, supporting that actually may indeed help with maybe showing that there's interest for more episodes, because there is more material from the manga to adapt for another season. There is the OVA coming out over the summer. I think Crunchyroll Expo is premiering it very soon, and hopefully we'll get to do that as well. But yeah, and but yeah, support the video game. I'm sure there will be a season 2 Blu-ray as well. So I mean, if you guys want more of the show, like, that's certainly, you know, a way to provide the interest. So yeah.
Yeah, I always forget about the Reagan OVA because I had so little to do in that one that was new, because it was all the Reagan show, and like and most of the stuff that Mob says is just pulled from the first season of the show too. But yeah, I'm reminding myself of what the question was here. I was stoked when we found out that there was going to be another season. Because like these guys said, you never know when the session is going to be the end of the series or not. And yeah, I'm really hoping that we get to go back for some more soon. I feel like season 2, I remember having this conversation with Kaysen when I went in for my first session, where he was like, you know, I'm never sure what to expect with a season 2. Because sometimes, a lot of times, a show like this, they'll have a sophomore slump where the first season's really solid, and then the second season it kind of dips. It's not as great, and they really rose the bar with season 2 on this show. Mom Psycho's season 2 is even better than the first season was, I think, personally.
There's something that happens in every show, ladies and gentlemen. You're working it, and you're a monster on the show. You're like, oh, this is great. Oh, it's gonna go on forever. And then you turn the page in the days when you used to have pages, and it says reacts and dies. And you kind of go, no.
Then an anime come back again.
You can't die in anime and or comics. That off-screen death is real in anime. Who's next? Who's next? Go ahead.
So, considering the world of Mob Psycho as arguably the greatest psychic ever, with many a special attack, what is your favorite great special abilities?
Which I love always. This is one of Reagan's special techniques every time. Oh man. Our personal favorite from the first season is definitely the Aroma Runaway Express. Just because there's a train involved, that's funny. I like I'm not because it's I don't feel like screaming today, but the hypnosis punch, because I try to get some of that Captain Falcon hypnosis punch in there. Those are some good ones. There were some funny ones in season 2 that I'm drawing a blank on, but I try to go 120% emulating Dragon Ball straight up when I do that was, I remember, I think in the audition, because in the audition, one of the scenes was when he's talking to the guy in the beginning of the first episode, and I had to do the sorcery crash thing, and I was like, all right, well, and then I got it, so.
That's just one of his special techniques.
Raise your hands high so I can see them. Who's next, please?
All right. Do you play any video game do you play any video game of the character that you role play in? For example, did Kyle play Nier Automata since you role play that character?
Okay, I think the question is, do we play any of the video games that we do voices for? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. As a matter of fact, I have a Twitch channel where I streamed my entire playthrough of Nier Automata and Fire Emblem Echoes, which only took me 2 years to finally finish. I am a much more casual gamer than I was in my youth, but I still play some games. I don't play everything I'm in. I don't watch everything I'm in, but the stuff that I get excited about, yeah.
Yeah, I actually can't think of any games, because a lot of the ones that I'm in, that I love being part of, a lot of them are JRPGs, which tend to be really long. So I've not played Octopath, I've not played Tales of Systeria or Disgaea. They're amazing games, and often I'll watch a full playthrough of them, which thank God he'll do streams. Because I want to hear how it turned out, and I love hearing the rest of the cast, because typically if we're in it, friends of ours are in it as well. But I don't usually have the time to play a lot of the games that I'm in because they end up being super long. So I'm hoping if someday if I ever get into a really shorter Undertale length game that I can actually play all the way through and have time for it, I would love to. Michael, you play lots of video games, right?
Yeah, I tried it once. I was in this game called Medal of Honor, Their Finest Hour. I played a Russian tank commander, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play this. I couldn't get that effing tank out of the garage for 2 goddamn hours, ladies and gentlemen. Lame-o.
All right, who's next? Yeah, raise them high.
What's your favorite scene?
Favorite scene out of the whole show?
There's this one where my character, I think he took steroids or something, he became this muscular bald guy. He's like, "Rah, rah, rah." So that was really nice for me because it was kind of like life imitating art, as you can see.
Oh man. You know what? And we had to do kind of like a sort of remixed version of it in season 2 where we expanded upon it. But the scene where Mob and Reagan meet each other for the first time, where he's a little teeny tiny 5-year-old Mob, and you know, because Reagan is not a good person, and Mob, I feel like, keeps him in even just remotely the like vein of being like a somewhat decent human being. And I feel that like even in that first meeting, even though we're clearly like, I found my golden egg-laying goose that I'm gonna take advantage of and manipulate for several years. I feel like that, and then coming to a head eventually with the revelation that he always knew that Reagan was playing him, and realizing like, oh, this guy, who hasn't seen season 2? Sorry. Watch, it's all for free on Crunchyroll right now, go watch it, sorry. But like, you know, Mob, I think, is this light in his life that like keeps him humble and keeps him like not from completely being like a piece of garbage. And I think that opening scene of the two of them meeting, it's so sweet and genuine, and like little tiny Mob talking to this 30-year-old who's like, what am I doing with my life? I'm gonna have a cigarette. You know, that part was really special to me.
That's cute.
I think that's a great scene, because it's that, I feel like that's the big moment where you realize that Reagan's not just a shyster, you know? I've got a couple. There's a whole 2-episode arc in season 2 that I think hits around episodes 5 and 6, maybe, or something like that, where Mob ends up like going inside of the mind of this girl that's been possessed, and man, there is some great character development there for him. I don't know why, I just love this moment from like, I think it's like episode 2 of the very first season, where Mob is with the telepathy club, and he's just passed out trying out for the body improvement club and failed miserably. So he's just like sitting there recuperating, and they don't believe that he's got telepathic powers. So he just makes all of the dumbbells and everything fly all around the room, and then he's got one just kind of hovering here, and he's just real deadpan, like, so is that enough? Do you believe me now? And then he lets the dumbbell go and catches it and goes, whoa, that's heavy. I love that moment.
You just made me think of another thing that he did, the one where he decided he's going to run the marathon to impress the girl. That's one of the funniest sequences ever.
Who's next? Raise them high. I am very blind, as you can see.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, what were your actions when you were talking there? And like, you know, your voice for them, or like, idea how you're playing it?
It's hard to know how you're going to play a green blob, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard to know. And his face is so dramatic. You know, he goes from being, sometimes he's not animated very well, I'm sorry, but he isn't. Sometimes he's just like a green blob, ladies and gentlemen. Other times, he's got facial features, and he's got a nose, and he's got eyebrows and everything. I think you, at least for me personally, I try to let the image dictate what the voice is going to be. And hopefully we have enough skill that we can work around it and get to where we need to be so that you go, oh yeah, that's the right voice for that.
The Bang Studio in the studio where we record the dub, often when they send auditions for anime, they will also send reference videos to go along with the audition sides. The sides are like the lines that, you know, typically hopefully it's a good range of like the characters' different emotions. They can sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's like 3 lines and it's like figure it out. But thankfully they will give us like video material of the scene so we can see exactly where it goes. So like for me, I had it was the scene where he's giving the sorcery crush to the one guy, and then the other one is when he's on the phone being like, "Don't believe the telepathy club people. They're just trying to play you, Mom. Not like me. I'm your friend." And I think I just did 2 passes, and like with a lot of anime, like especially for like kind of just very human characters, like a lot of times there's not always so much like what's the voice I'm gonna do for this, and more of like what's the attitude, because like as you guys can hear, Reagan is not too far off from just the way that I sound normally, just more. But no, that's the thing is, and actually with that said, Mob is a show that has a lot of cartoony, like more exaggerated kind of characters, which I think is cool. But for me personally, it was just like more of the attitude and like discovering that sort of manic Jim Carrey-esque Wall Street energy that he has, and just sort of playing with that. So it's what my mom says, like, he's like straight out of Wall Street, this guy.
Yeah, I think it's you let the character inform the voice, because it's all about. I mean, I heard something that last weekend. I can't remember. It was something along the lines of like, there's no such thing as bad voices, only bad actors. I think, or something like that, something along those lines. There's also no such thing as good voices, only good actors. So it's all about the performance more than it is the vocal quality. Mob was a show where I learned a lesson from the audition process, because this was the first anime that I auditioned for where I went and watched the first episode before I did the audition. Because I was like, I'm gonna research a little bit more. I'm gonna get a little bit more information, because I was like, it looks a lot like One Punch Man, and that show's awesome. I want to be in this. So I did a little bit of research and studied up, and then did my audition and booked it. And I was like, all right, this works. And then the next time an audition came around, I was like, I have a formula now. So I watched the first episode, and I was like, this show's really good. It was Anohana. I was like, this show's beautiful. It's like Your Lie in April. I want to be in this one. And then I got called back for 2 characters, and I didn't book either one of them. And I went, oh, that's why you don't do that.
I can't. Friends of mine, that's kind of why I'm thankful for simuldubs as the anime fan. I'm watching Dr. Stone, and granted, that's in Texas, and like a bunch of friends of mine work on that, which I'm very happy for. But like, people are, oh, are you watching like, I don't know, what else is it? Like Demon Slayer and like stuff like that? And I'm like, I can't, because I don't want to get attached. Like, it's especially like when you like anime and cartoons and stuff, it's really easy to get attached, and that happens. And then sometimes you might not even get to audition for that character that you liked in the first place. Like that happens a lot too. So yeah, so we don't watch subs because we're idiots.
Who's next? Raise your hand. I'm live.
Over the course of playing the characters, what was something that you discovered about them that kind of changed your perspective on them and how you performed?
I thought that Dimple was a decent, loving human being. And after the second line, I knew that wasn't true.
Oh God, I don't know. Reagan is I hate how much in common I have with Reagan. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm trying to be vague since some of you guys haven't seen season 2, but like there was a part in season 2, you'll probably know what it is if you've seen it, where like watching it in Japanese, I was crying. Recording it in the booth, I was crying. Watching it again and knowing for the 3rd time it was going to happen and having already performed it, I cried. Because it was hitting me really, really close to home, and it was like messing me up. So it was kind of, playing Reagan was kind of like looking at a really screwed up, like ginger-haired mirror of myself. And it was a little painful, but I'm also really proud of the performance that I gave, and I love the show very much. Like, I wouldn't be a fan of the show even if I wasn't in it. And that's not always the case with every show I work on. And I'm really grateful that there's still times, I told you guys this, there's still times where like I can't believe that I even got the character in the first place. Like, I look at it and I'm just like, how is this not like Ray or something? Like I'm not even kidding. Like, so it's kind of surreal, and sometimes I'm not always like absorbing it, but like it's become like a thing that's associated with me closely, and I do appreciate that people like it a lot. So, did that answer your question at all? I have no idea. I guess.
Dude, you're a perfect Reagan. Like, I cannot, no, your performance as Reagan is fantastic. I love it. So Mob goes through a transformation throughout season 1, and then in season 2, I kind of talked about this earlier, where he starts to show some of those emotions that he's been suppressing his entire life, and that absolutely, the whole recording all of season 2 was way more challenging than season 1, because it was like, we've established this character that is very even-keeled, like just across the board. Okay, you know, it's all right in that pocket, and then now he's having moments where he's weeping over something, or moments, just like tender moments, and then he's experiencing like joy, and he's starting to form into a full-fledged human being finally. And that was a little bit of a challenge, trying to maintain the character while exploring all of that new stuff. I hope it came out okay.
Alright, who's next? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask for you guys, what was like building the relationship between? What do you feel was the relationship between Mom and Reagan, and then when Dimple joins the group?
I think we've kind of built a fun like group now with like Ritsu and Teru are kind of like on the bench as like the backup squad, and there's like the up and comers like Hoshino and Kurosaki, like the young kids with the other powers, and then now we have Serizawa as part of like as my intern that I whip around, which is funny. But I think the core trio of us, I think like make for a really good dynamic of like main characters for a show, because like you don't often get this again, like something, despite the fact that it's a very Japanese cultural show with like the spirits and you know like exorcism and stuff like that. The actual like this trio of characters feels kind of, to me personally, more almost like an American cartoon of like the kid and the older guy and like the freaky sidekick and talking animal thing. Like it feels more like it would be like a Cartoon Network show or something. So again, because of the range of just how the show is built to begin with, I think like we're pretty lucky that like we had also that like it gets to be us. I remember like when I found out you were playing Dimple, I was like, yes. We hadn't even met yet. I was just a fan of your stuff. Can I? Sorry, I'm gonna proverbially fillet Michael for a second here, because Michael doesn't do conventions very often, and you guys probably may not know, or maybe you do, and if you do, then good. But like, he's more than just Dimple. Like, he directed like a massive amount of anime that you probably all grew up with. He directed on Power Rangers. He was in Power Rangers. He worked on Digimon and Bobobo and Cyborg 009 and Bleach and Naruto and like 7 million other things. Like, he's like an old school like Gen 1 anime guy that like you have all probably grown up hearing in 7,000 things and don't know it. And like, I want him to do more cons, and this is the first one you've done in like a while. So there.
Why did that bastard say that in front of everyone? I swear to God, I'll get him later. I'll get him alone. And when I do, it's not going to be pretty for him. No, this is the greatest show in the world. I have so much fun with you guys, and it's so great. But I can't believe that Kyle can just be so flat. He can just do that character. I could never do that. How do you do it?
I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, it is interesting, because it's like to keep that while feeling the feelings. Sorry, the question was something to do with our relationship, our characters' relationships with each other. I think it's fascinating because you, as a viewer, you watch and you go, God, Reagan is terrible. And then, and Dimple isn't really any better in terms of like their moral compass, you know? But Mob hangs around them anyway because I feel like Mob is the epitome of finding the good in people. And he absolutely finds the good in Reagan and Dimple both. To where, yeah, well, and it gets to the point where as a viewer, as you go on, you're like, oh, I get it now. I get this weird relationship between the wholesome, like, completely innocent, naive little boy and these two guys that are both trying to take advantage of him in different ways. Because it's not like he's victim to them, even though it might seem like he is early on. I think it's a fascinating relationship.
Before I let another question go, my brain is weird, so I have something I would like you guys to attempt to do, if you don't mind. I want you guys to attempt a character swap. So pick a character that one of the two gentlemen at this table plays, and then do your best attempt at their character.
Okay, so
yeah.
Me and Kyle did a convention with Max Middleman last year, where we did this, and you did Reagan, I did Ritsu, he's the voice of Ritsu, and then he did Mom.
Yeah.
So let's go the opposite direction. So you do you do no, you do me, and then I'm doing Mom. Do you want to do Mom? Okay, you do Mom.
Oh, hey, it's so tough to be here. Why is that green glob always bothering me? And why is Reagan named after a president? I just know that I like that girl, so I have to go and run a marathon and crap my guts out.
Alright, fine. Then I'm out, I guess. Let me, oh God, what is it? Hey kid. How do you think you're doing? I look like a little floating piece of fart. And I wonder, am I actually the narrator also? Reagan did not know that he was actually a human piece of garbage. And Lord Baldy Bald actually, oh sorry, wrong show, never mind.
That was great. I need a line. I need a Reagan line. Help me out.
New star of the paranormal world.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, so, I am Reagan Arataka, new star of the paranormal world. Something like that. Yeah.
Something and then...
Oh, yeah. Supporting, let's see, buying the Blu-ray? An excellent decision. Something like that? I don't know about that.
When you put up with my tomfoolery, things happen. Like the birth of my fake child. Alright, who's next? Hold up, we got one in the back.
Yes.
Never mind, I'm just kidding, go ahead.
When it comes to the dub voice actors, there always seems to be a small amount of backlash from dub or sub purists. And when it comes to that backlash and how you decide to portray the character, what is something that you do to feel like, I will make this my own and forget what these people are saying and just do what you do?
Sometimes the director or the producing company wants you to match the original dub. So, but sometimes you Americanize it a little bit, and so it may not sound the same to people. But a lot of times we're asked to either match the dub in intensity, intention, specific reacts, which I don't like because I always feel like I've got better reacts, and that might be a little egotistical, but I've been doing this for a long time. And sometimes with the Japanese, they won't necessarily match the react perfectly. So it's an interesting, it's a very fine line we walk, because a lot of times we're asked to do things, and sometimes we have to, in a sense, submit artistically to what we're being asked to do.
Sure. I think there's a subculture of the anime fandom that is like subs or nothing, like, you know, dub suck, whatever. And those people we're never going to convert into dub fans, so I don't really worry too much about what what they think about our performance, because they're probably never going to hear it, honestly. I think, but along the lines of what Michael was talking about, I think there's always a balance between trying to stay true to the original concept and also localizing it for an American audience to understand. Because there's a lot of stuff, especially when you're dealing with a comedy show like Mob, where it doesn't translate when you do it just like straight translation. So you've got to change things and make it your own a little bit, or make it sound a little bit more, I don't know, just a little bit more familiar to an American ear. But you also want to try and stay as close to the original as you can, because otherwise you will offend some of the fans that are a little bit more on the fence about it, that aren't strictly subs only, but are fans of the whole franchise, and then they want to see it done justice. So it's a little bit, you're always walking on a tightrope a little bit.
Which, for me, even just as a viewer, what I'm really happy about with Mob is that it's a kind of sweet spot that I love about dubs that I watched growing up, where it is the story. The characters in the story are what the original intention was, but there's enough fun had with the dialogue that it doesn't sound like a subtitle track just being sunk up to the lip flap, because then you get stuff like, where it feels like, I will definitely, most certainly defeat you, kind of things, where it's like, what? Yeah, that's the thing the human says, okay. But I will say this too, when it comes to this show in particular, I've been blown away, and I'm not just saying this, like, I have met a massive amount of people, and this is not to take, because the Japanese cast is incredible, and the original is amazing, but I've met a lot of people that are like, oh, I haven't seen season 2 yet, I'm waiting for the dub to come out. Like, a lot of people, especially because now, even people who, I think people generally get that, like, dubs have gotten way better in the last, 10, 15, years, comparatively, that everybody kind of gets it, and even if they don't like them, they're like, yeah, but it's fine, they're harmless, But now, because of just how quick things have to come out, a lot of people don't even see dubs because, I don't have an account on whatever streaming service is on, and I already watched it subbed on Crunchyroll, and I don't really feel like watching it again. Sorry, it's not out of hate, it's just out of convenience, I guess. But the fact that Mob's dub was so well received by people and so well liked by everybody that they were waiting for the next season to be dubbed before they even watched the new episodes. I really met a lot of people at other cons and on Reddit and different places around the internet where they really appreciate it, and that doesn't happen super often with every show and every popular show either. So we're really fortunate that happened with us.
Yeah, as for purists, it doesn't really matter. There's no backlash from them. But there's no real backlash from purists. Just like dubs, their dubs are awful. I'm alright, it's not gonna change my life. I was the voice actor for Misty for 10 years, okay? No one came up to me and was like, your Misty's terrible. They're just like, I didn't like the dub. Cool, I've been voicing a girl for 10 years. I think my life is doing real well right now. Does not matter. Alright, who's next? Over the back? Go ahead.
Creative person get started in this, and maybe if they're not in California or somewhere where this is, I don't even know how to tell it, to get them started and not let them get defeated?
I would actually say at this point, I think that there's enough technology out there that they can create their own. That's what I would say, because I think if you try to say, well, I can do all these voices great and I can do them exactly on pitch, I don't think that matters as much as creating your own so you can generate some interest. I would say that. In the old days, I would say read everything, voice everything. But now you have the technology at home where, they can do things themselves. So I would say, get the animators at the club to create some animation, and then put some voices on it.
Yeah, that's how I started. I still create animation and produce stuff, and I did voices in my own things, and then I got more into voiceover actually kind of from the trivia and casting side of it for my own stuff. and then found that I had a knack for it. And then when I got into it, I really studied hard because I didn't have like a traditional acting background. I wasn't a theater guy or didn't do film or stand-up or anything. But I would say, in addition to that, absolutely like find different avenues to explore your artistic ability. If they also are interested specifically in doing voiceover and just acting, tell them to also get involved with like the theater club, like drama, radio as well, learning about recording and the technical side of microphones and everything. And there's classes, and there's voiceover everywhere. I mean, like there's local commercials and things that they could do. They could build themselves up. There's also stuff to do online, like voiceover websites, like voices.com, Voice123, stuff like that, to kind of get your footing. Because living in most of the major areas where animation and video game voiceover happens are really expensive, like here or in New York, and Texas is a little bit more affordable, but even then it's like, you have to be prepared before you get into it. So like studying performance as much as possible for specifically if they want to get into acting. Drama and theater first and foremost, like secondarily stuff like stand-up and radio, things like that. Anything involving using their voice, using their body, performing, etc. Like as much prep as possible before jumping in with both hands and feet will always help. So
I'm just gonna echo those sentiments anecdotally because I grew up, all I ever wanted to do was be an actor. I did lots of theater, I did lots of music growing up, and then I got into voiceover because of creating my own content. I did a radio play, a little amateur radio play for World of Warcraft while I was in college studying theater as just a fun thing to do on the side, where I just experimented with character voices and writing and directing and sound designing and stuff. And so I think the acting background is really, really crucial. At some point, once you realize it's something that you really want to pursue, that's essential, I think. And then, create your own content. I think that's a great way to get started. Yeah.
Thank you for that wonderful question.
I'm a young producer in the city, and it's hard. So you have to figure out very quickly what you can do and what you can't do. And one thing that most people can't do is make their own stuff, which is a good sentiment. But you also have to realize if you're further away, some people are further away. So what I suggest is because I have like 100 bosses because I work at like 100 different locations. But my boss, what he did is he found every club at the school and he figured out whether they can collaborate on one huge project to put together. So he ran the animation club, I ran the gaming club, and then a few other people ran the camera crew. And then in the one fell swoop of an entire semester, there were 3 animated films completely created. So if you're lacking a resource, either find someone that can get it for you or figure out how you can get it. Money, a lot of people like to say, go buy stuff, and I agree with that, but some stuff's super expensive. But if you have some cash, Yetis and the program Audacity, that's all you need to get started. Start writing, start recording, start putting it up on YouTube. What's great about this entire environment is as long as you're humble and you do good work, people will collaborate with you. One of my favorite YouTube channels is Jello Apocalypse. That dude collaborates with everyone.
And he's doing anime now.
And he is.
Yeah, he's in Fire Force. He's Jello Apocalypse. Brendan.
Yeah. So tell them to look online. Tell them to find people who are doing the same thing and try to collaborate with them. Also, being in Ohio to me is not a deficit if you want to be a voice actor. I have so many friends who do not leave their house ever and just voice act from home because they've built a studio, which is possible with a Yeti and Audacity and a closet. So, take those steps to figure out what do you guys want to do. If you want to just voice act, cool. Like I said, Yeti, Audacity, a nice sound stage to make something, you're good. If you want to create collaborations, find people to collaborate with, and make sure you do, respect everyone's time. Write a script, make sure you enjoy it. Find the people, make sure they know exactly how long they're going to be working and what they're going to do, and give a timeline, and boom, you got something done in anywhere from a week to 3 months, depending on what you're working on. So it takes a little bit of effort, but when you work hard, it gets done. I hope that helped. And thanks. Next question. Actually, hold up. Let me double check time. Okay, so we only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to let you guys get in last words, what you guys are doing for the rest of the weekend, and your social media, and we're going to end it, because I think another question would take too long.
Okay.
Okay?
Can we maybe do like one more?
One more.
Okay, we can do a short one.
Anyone else who hasn't asked one yet?
You want to go ahead?
Oh, yeah.
Would you be willing to sing if there are any anime characters that sing on an anime? Actually, that's too expensive. But yeah, is it possible for an anime character to sing, you know, in a musical, in an anime that's based on a musical, or something?
They're singing.
Yeah, if they're singing, we're singing for them, you bet. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, if they dub the song, sometimes there's like rights stuff that happens, not the company rights stuff, there are rights problems that might prevent, oh, we can't dub the song. I think Love Live, there's something with that happened. But if the song is like a plot point and like it needs to be adapted, then yeah, and typically the casting director will usually get an actor that can also sing. And we love getting to do that stuff, because a lot of us are also musicians.
Yeah. There's a little bit of, I mean, just a microcosm of an example. In season 2 of Mob, there's a scene where everybody's got to sing happy birthday to one of the characters in the, it's one of the characters, it's in the Body Improvement Club. Yeah, there's two characters that are celebrating a birthday, and the Body Improvement Club is all singing happy birthday to him. But we couldn't sing the happy birthday song because A, it did not fit with the flaps at all, and B, it's not in public domain. Actually, I think it is now. It is now. But anyway, we couldn't sing the happy birthday song. We had to make up something, Mike McCarley had to make up something that fit a little bit closer, and it's a little bit of a challenge. I can't remember what episode that's in, but there's a little bit of a song there.
I think it's 2/6 in season 2 episode.
Season 2 episode 6, something like that. Yeah. So it happens for sure.
Just one more. I saw you back there. Did you have one? Did you have one?
Oh yeah, we got time. Yeah, go for it.
What was your favorite parts to act out in the anime?
Favorite parts to act out. I guess we kind of talked about favorite scenes or favorite moments, but favorite parts to act out. Yeah.
Let's see.
Early on, there was an episode where we sneak into a girls' school, and so we cross-dressed, and my voice was dead. It was right at Thanksgiving. It was right when we started, and I just had like 3 straight weeks of never having to shut up, which anybody who knows me, that's the dream for them. But my voice was shot, and Kaysen originally wanted me to do like I'm a girl voice for like Reagan, like pretending. And I physically couldn't do the like falsetto thing, so I was just like, excuse me, like we're on our way to class, because vocally that's all I could do. And he was like, you know what, that's better, we're gonna go with that. So that, and also just the in season 2, the he's a big boy thing, like it just came out and it made Kaysen laugh really hard. And I'm just like, please keep that, please keep that, please keep that, and they did, and I was very proud. So.
I like the first. I remember the first session where Mob hit 100%, which I think is that no, that's not in the fight with Dimple.
No, I think it
is. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it in the fight with Dimple? Maybe it is. Yeah, like 4, episode 4. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, that like you might find that a hell of a lot easier than making me laugh. Yeah, that whole thing. I thought that was a pretty cool moment, like experiencing for the first time, oh, Mob has feelings and here they are. All at once. I thought that was a cool experience.
I just love it all. I just love it all. It's so much fun. Yeah. I still like, I want to go back to that guy. I look so muscular as that bald guy. I don't know, I think I got a thing for him. I don't know, it's right or not.
I think he does become like big muscly Dimple at some point.
He does, yeah. And I had to put a little extra on it.
All right, because we're close to running out of time, so give us your last words, your social media, and projects coming up.
Okay, let's start with you guys, since you have more to say.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I can talk about this one. Astral Chain is a new game coming out for the Nintendo Switch in 6 days. It comes out on Friday, and it looks really cool. I play Hal. He's a little fly around drone dude throughout the game. It's gonna be cool. And on Twitter, I'm Kyle McCarley. On Twitch, I'm Kyle McCarley. It's pretty easy to find.
Hero Mask Season 2 just came out, I think, like yesterday, and I play Harry in that. My YouTube is Kerbopher15, KIRBOPHER15. I'm making a video game project called Terrain of Magical Expertise. It's a Kickstarter, like, turn-based RPG type thing. If you search, thank you. If you search Tome RPG, Tome RPG, Chris Niosi, you'll probably find it. I'm working on that right now. And and thanks for having us, guys.
I'll be at the metro station in North Hollywood, dancing for change, and next week I plan to come out of my root cellar and get a Twitter account, so I'm looking forward to that. Thanks everyone for being here. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for spending time with us and enjoying the show. Please watch Season 2 if you haven't watched it, and get ready for more content.
Yeah, and again, sign up for I think they're doing an open beta or something for the Mob Psycho Crunchyroll game, so go check that out. And I think we're doing autographs tomorrow, tomorrow at 1, I think, we're doing autographs if you want to come see us tomorrow. But otherwise, have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.
We want to thank our wonderful moderator. He did a great job.